Hi, and welcome to Coming to New England. My name is Brian Flaherty, and my guest today is my mother, Patricia Flaherty. Thank you for coming. What is your full name?
Patricia Mulligan Flaherty.
And when and where were you born?
I was born August 10th, 1956, in Milton, Massachusetts.
How did your family come to live here?
My family came to live in Massachusetts. My dad's family came from Ireland. They immigrated 2 generations ago. And my mom came, she was a first-generation immigrant from Ireland.
Were there any other family members in the area, and who, if so?
In the area, my dad was one of 6, so we had 5 uncles and aunts. My mom didn't have any family in the area. She came by herself, but she did have cousins that we came to know as aunts and uncles because they were the closest relatives that she had.
Were there any special things about the house that you remember?
The house I grew up in?
Yeah.
The house I grew up in was a big 2-family home. I was one of 6 children, and we lived in the 2nd and 3rd floor of the house. And one of the memories I have of that house is that it had big eaves in the 2nd floor that we used to play hide and seek in.
Okay. What is your earliest childhood memory?
I think probably my earliest memories were playing with my older sisters. One of them was very kind to me and very loving, and the other one was a pain in the neck.
Describe the personalities of some of your family members.
I think I just did, but my older sister, she was very intelligent, always reading and always trying to be like a second mother to me. My second sister, she was feisty and like a troublemaker constantly. Mm-hmm. My brother was kind of a, he was, I can't quite think of the correct term, but he was always getting into trouble but pretending he didn't. And then I had a younger brother and a younger sister who were just great kids, and we just got along really well.
What was school like for you as a child?
School was like a community setting. I was one of 6 children, and most of the neighbors in our neighborhood had large families. We all walked to school together. It was different from what you might have experienced in that it was a little more strict, and there were codes of behavior that was expected. But I loved school. It was always something that I enjoyed going to.
What were your best and worst subjects in school?
I'm not a great speller, so thank goodness for spell check. And I always liked math.
Where did you attend grade school, high school, and college, if so? What you did?
I went to, my elementary school was in Weymouth, and my middle school was in Weymouth, Massachusetts. And then when I started high school, my family moved from Weymouth to Quincy. So I went to high school in Quincy, and I went to college in Boston at the University of Massachusetts.
What school activities and sports did you participate in?
I didn't do any sports back in my day. Girls, the only sports and the only activity that they did really was cheerleading. When I got to high school, there was some running clubs that we belonged to. And activities, I was more in student government in high school.
Did you have any pets? If so, what kind of pet, and what were their names?
Growing up, our first dog was Andy. It was a mixed breed, and he lived to be about 7 years old. And then when I was in middle school, we got Patches, and Patches lived a good long life of 13 years.
Who were your friends when you were growing up?
In my younger years, my best friend was Vicky. I still see her from time to time, and she's just a terrific person. When I went to high school, we had moved from one town to another, and I met my best friend for life, Pam. I met her the first day in homeroom, and we've been friends ever since.
Describe a typical family dinner. And did you eat all together as a family? Who did the cooking? What were your favorite foods, etc.?
Okay, we ate dinner together every evening. My mom did the cooking. My mom didn't work outside the home when I was growing up. And we would have dinner together every evening. Typical foods was Irish food. It was meat and potatoes almost every evening.
What were holidays like, and how were they celebrated in your family?
We would have holidays usually at home as a family and then go visit my grandparents in Quincy. My father's parents lived there. all of our family gatherings were on my father's side because my mom didn't have any family living here. And they were usually big groups because I was one of six, and most of my father's brothers and sisters had large families, so there'd be a big group of us. My grandparents' house at the time had a big open field in the back, so we'd go up dressed in our Sunday best and come home looking like ragamuffins.
Who was your oldest relative you remember as a child, and what do you remember about them?
When I was a child, probably my grandparents were my oldest relatives. My grandfather died when I was in grade school. He was a really genuinely nice man, and when we used to go to visit them, they had this little cubby hole that they used to pretend they found treasures in, which of course later in life I realized they had hid there every time. My grandmother lived until I was in middle school, so she was in her late 70s when she passed away. But my father had two aunts that were single and had been very good to him during the Depression. My Aunt Kate, my Grandaunt Kate and my Grandaunt Josie. So they lived to be in their 90s, and Josie actually lived to be over 100. So she was in my life for a long time. And my father, as they aged, felt a great need to make sure that they were taken care of because they had been such good aunts to his family during the Depression.
What was the full name of your spouse?
My husband's name is Brian John Flaherty.
When and how did you meet your spouse, and what did you guys do in your dates?
Oh, goodness. I met my husband in a sports bar in Boston. He is an avid sports fan. He would love to attend the Celtics games or the Red Sox games, so we did that often. We also would we rented homes in New Hampshire and down at the Cape or down in Rhode Island at the seashores during the summer. So we would always go away with groups of friends.
What was it like when you were proposed to?
My husband is a very nervous man, and while I knew it was coming, I just never quite knew when it was coming. And it ended up New Year's Eve of 1992, he proposed to me.
Where and when did it happen?
Well, it happened New Year's Eve of 1992, and it happened, we were at a house party at my sister's house, my sister Helen's house.
How'd you feel when it happened?
Thank goodness he finally did it.
Where and when did you get married?
We got married a year later. We married in Quincy at St. Mary's Church, and we had a reception in Dedham.
What memory stands out the most from your wedding day?
I think just the fact that the family was all together. It was kind of a wonderful experience to have so many people in your family there, and it was a happy time. I later realized that happy times are good times to be together.
How would you describe your spouse, and what do you admire most about them?
My spouse, he is an Irishman. He's 6'4". He is very energetic. It's rare. He's either moving or sleeping. There's no in between with him. He's a good man. He's a good friend. He is very loyal to his family and to his friends. And he considers himself somebody that would do anything for somebody in need.
What was your proudest moment as a parent?
Oh, as a parent, I guess your graduation was a wonderful moment. It was really a time when you realized that you were changing from your child being your child and living with you, and you had actually graduated, and I had to kind of let go a little bit, but I was very proud.
What accomplishments are you most proud of?
In my life?
Yeah.
I started a business when I was young, and I'm very proud that I've been able to continue that business for 30 years. It's been a source of pride. It's also been, I was able to continue it when my children were young, and I could take them to work with me and flex my hours out. And, it's something that I've grown over the last 30 years, so I'm proud of that.
How is the world today different from what it was like when you were a child?
When I was a child, we lived in a house. As I said, I was one of 6 children. We had one television. There were no computers. There were no cell phones. There were no iPads. We talked more. We didn't go into ourselves and turn our music on and listen to our headphones. So it was really a different world back then. Activities were more things that came from your imagination. It wasn't something that was directed from a computer or a tablet or a game stop.
What world event had the most impact on you while you were growing up?
I think if I had to think about a world event that when I was growing up, it would probably be the John F. K's assassination. I was in second grade, and I remember, like it was yesterday, the teachers being very upset. They didn't tell us why, and when we left school, they told us to go directly home. And when we got home, my mom was there, and she was very upset, but she told us that the president had been shot. And then over the next few days, it was like the world stopped, and everyone gathered around the one television that you had in your house and watched the events unfold. And it was a very, very sad time for the country. In my life after that, when 9/11 happened, I felt like it was the same thing. It was just a great time of mourning and reflection, and the most important thing at that time was just to be together with your family.
How would you define the American dream?
In my definition of the American dream, I do think that if you work hard enough in America, you can obtain what you want. What was important to me was to be able to earn enough money to have a lifestyle where I had a house and I could provide for my children. Being married, being able to work, being able to provide is important to me. And I feel like we've achieved that in our life.
Well, thank you for being here today, Mom.
You're welcome, Ryan.